Hi everybody, it's Net from the Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about where we go first. What is our first stop, in a sense, our first go-to when something does not go the way we wanted it to. Something does not go exactly to plan. We get frustrated, we get agitated, we don't like the timeline we're in, we don't like the people we're around, we don't like anything that's going on. Maybe that's a little drastic, but you get the point. Where do we go first? Do we go to the internet? Do we start looking something up? Do we call a friend and ask what we should do? I'm trying to think of something else. I don't remember what I used to do. Do we just rant and rave for a while? And sometimes ranting and raving is important to do to get out of your body. Do we look outside for an answer? Or do we immediately connect inside for the answer? So do we look for our own inner connections? People will call it the divine connection, your source connection. Or do we go elsewhere? What is your first go-to? Because the more you establish that connection within yourself, because that is your most powerful source as far as knowing goes. No one knows more than you do. No one knows more about your template. No one knows more about anything regarding you than you do. And if we don't believe that yet, we have to really look at why we don't believe that yet. And I see so many people who don't believe that. I know there was a time I didn't believe that. So every time I see that, I go, yeah, I remember that. I used to feel that way too. But where do you go first? And this is important to understand, because if we keep looking outside for someone else to come in and save us from something or clarify something for us, then we're not really establishing what we're going to need to go forward. Because with Ascension, everything is going to push you inside. And if you resist that, if you resist going inside on your own and you keep, because sometimes what we'll do is we'll kind of resist that part. We don't want to go inside and look for answers because we don't like the answers we're going to get in the beginning. Because most of the answers we get in the beginning is, yes, that's not aligned. That person's got to go. The whole situation has to be reworked. Yeah, you got to kind of leave that one too. You can't, and for a while we didn't have the connection long enough to do a lot of this stuff. You know, we can kind of hit that connection, but we haven't established it. It's almost like you don't have a solid rod in the ground, in a sense, a solid rod inside to kind of connect in. If you think of it as like an antenna, you almost in the beginning just have one of those little things that would search for water. You're just kind of trying to hit it here and there, but you don't really have the connection because there's too much stuff in the way. You know, your consciousness isn't even in the body, in a sense. It's floating around in the field. That's why when I do videos, especially the last year or so, I'm reading the field. I'm reading my field and information that's in my field. So my eyes go all over the place, you know, kind of picking up different information that's in the field. Some people will see that physically. I don't really see the information floating around. I just know unconsciously, in a sense, my eyes are going to those areas to find out, you know, the word I want or the situation I want to talk about or whatever. But when we talk about that connection, establishing that connection, sometimes we have to set for a long period of time to get an answer. And sometimes we don't like the answer we get, so we say we didn't get one. So then we'll just kind of say, oh, I didn't get one. What are you going to do? I didn't get an answer, because we don't set long enough. You know, we don't like the answer we got. Normally it's we don't like the answer we got. So just start looking at your go-to. You know, look at where you go first and where does it take for you to get to that connection. Because the more you go through your ascension process, you won't need to kind of get there anymore. You'll just automatically go in first. You won't, I'll use an example. I don't like to use medical stuff, but it will come up a lot during different parts of our ascension journey. You know, something's going on with your body. Like, do I need to go to the doctor? Do I need to go to the emergency room? Or is this just part of the ascension process and I'm okay? Let me check in. Am I good? Whereas in the human consciousness, we would go, oh my God, I need to go to the emergency room and run around, you know, or call 4 people and ask what we should do. If you're calling anyone to ask what you should do, you're kind of giving your power away to that person to tell you. You know, I've seen people that will do that. They'll call 6 different people to ask what they should do about something. I used to do the same thing. You know, I can't judge that. I used to do the same thing. You call a lot of people and ask, what should I do? What should I do? And you kind of also game the system and know who to call to get the answer you want. You know the people are going to be more hard ass on the answer, the people that are going to give you the aspect of themselves that's a little more softer, depending on really what you wanted to do, right? It also takes that accountability away. Well, someone else said so. So that's okay. Someone else said that, so I don't got to worry about that. Someone else said to do it this way, so I did it that way. Where it's not 100%, it's distorted, because it's also they're seeing it through their lens. Now there is a part of the process where we are seeking information. We're raising our vibration. We're seeking information on consciousness. We're reading stuff about consciousness. We're enhancing our consciousness. That's part of the journey to deepen our own connection. It's not to give your power away to anyone teaching you anything or showing you something or opening you up. A lot of these videos I do, and people like me do these, they do open people up. They do help people connect, because that's why we share the stuff we share. Because someone can listen to that and go, yeah, I kind of get that. And if you don't get it the way I say it, someone else will say it a different way and you'll get that. And that is helping you connect with yourself to go, yeah, I had a situation like that, and now I understand why that happened. Because you're kind of unraveling those codes within yourself to where you can start to connect the dots and go, I understand now. I understand why I had to leave that job. I understand why that person had to go. I understand those things. You're going to find that most people you're depending on to answer questions for you, they will eventually get removed. Because your universe will show you don't need it. So if it is a go-to and you are always going to other people, always going outside, you will continue to be shown and continue to be pushed inside where all that stuff will go away. So just be aware of your first go-to. Your very first go-to, do you just stop and go, let me just connect in. And it gets easier. In the beginning, we kind of need the candles, when we first start connecting. A lot of times we'll need the candles, we'll need, meditation music or whatever, in the very, very beginning of a lot of our processes. Some people still could connect like that. But the higher your vibration goes, the higher your body vibration goes, the more higher consciousness you anchor in the body, you're going to notice that you don't have to go too far to connect. You don't have to go to sleep to connect. You don't have to do that. You're just like, oh, wait a minute, let me see. No, it's fine. And sometimes you don't have to do that. You just know. You just know this is okay. You just know this situation, yeah, it's not aligned. Yeah, I can't really fix it right now. I'll deal with it later. And then we'll hear maybe the judgment from other people coming and go, oh, you should have done it that way. Oh, you should have done it this way if you just done it that way. I just did a video on, if you change anything in a timeline, technically that whole timeline unravels and it wouldn't have been the same. If you change the way you acted, if you change the job you had, if you change the decisions you made, the vibration your body was setting at, you don't get that opportunity to maybe create those relationships you created. It's kind of when someone else views it, when someone looks at it from a human consciousness, the whole timeline you were in might look like an epic fail to a human consciousness, someone living from that consciousness. But to you, you understand everything. You understand why it had to be that way. And you don't judge them for saying that. There was a time you would have felt the same way. But we can look at that and go, that's just where they are. That's the what they can see. They can't see as much. So look where you can see more, yet you're still wanting to ask someone else. You're still kind of reaching out for someone else because you might not like what you see. In a sense, you might not like the answers of what you're going to have to do. I've seen that a lot lately, and I know I was the same way. Trying to hold on to a timeline, not wanting, especially moving. I don't like moving. It's not been my strong suit. Not wanting to do that and holding on to a timeline that was way past its prime. Usually timelines will kind of you start to see, we kind of can ride, I don't want to say like kind of unaligned timelines for a while, but they're kind of phasing out. But comes we'll ride them to the end because we know that's what we're supposed to do. And there are some ones where we kind of ride them to the end. They were like, oh, I just want a little more time. I just want a little more time. And it just kind of can throw everything else off down the road. Remember, it's like a domino effect. We don't want to throw off everything else. We've got to be in certain places. We've got to meet all these other people. Sometimes we get kind of moved from timeline to timeline more quickly, because we have other people we're supposed to meet, other things we're supposed to do. We can't stay in that timeline. Our time is done there. You'll know when your time is done there. It's not inspiring anymore. It's not fun anymore. We don't want to even be there anymore. It's just not something we want to really look at. So, you see a lot of people will say, your energy speaks for you. You see that all the time on the internet. And it's your consciousness. Energy is your consciousness. Your consciousness speaks for you. That's what speaks for you. That's what's in your field is your consciousness. So the consciousness we come from that's what people resonate with. That's what people feel. That's what they will sit there and say, yeah, that resonates with me. Or, oh, yeah, that person doesn't resonate with me, but that person resonates with me. Because they're in a different part of their process, or they're in a process where they might not be able to listen to that, but they can listen to this person. Sometimes if you're in a clearing phase, you don't want to hear anybody at a really high frequency because it just shakes you up even more. I know when I'm in the middle of clearing something and I'm bitching, right, around the house, just bitching and fussing, I don't want to hear someone uber conscious talking about something. What's the last thing I want to hear? I mean, I know I got to fix this shit, just leave me alone about it. It's almost like I feel like it's my universe saying, you got to fix this shit, right? Like, I know, but I don't want to hear it right now, give me some time, be kind to me. That's what I would always say when I knew I had to align something or move something out. I said, just be kind to me. Be kind to me and I'll do it. You just don't let it collapse on top of me. So always ask. Always ask, always connect in, always go in and see. And if it's something you have to do and maybe you don't think it might not be exactly the right time yet, or you have to kind of work up to that because you have a lot of cords of attachment around it, you just say, be kind to me. Universe, I know it, I see it, just be kind to me. You're just talking to yourself, just talking to higher aspects of yourself. But go in first. I cannot stress how important that's going to be. Because the more we depend on other stuff, even sometimes we'll even see when things get rough, when things got really rough in a lot of my ascension, and I say rough for my human, because a lot of it I kind of designed that way, because my human didn't want to let go of a lot of stuff. When it got really rough, and you start kind of listening, because you're like, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Even though you can't do ascension wrong, we get to this point where we're like, am I doing this wrong? Why does everyone else's journey look so much easier than my journey is? And some of it is they're just in a different phase of the process. It's not easy for anybody. If you're in a phase of the process where you're anchoring in a lot of light, you're in 5D, you're in bliss and magic, you haven't had to align anything yet. You haven't anchored anything in yet. You're still floating around in the clouds. That's the awesome part of the journey. If you're in that part of the journey, you want to hear people in that part of the journey. If you're in the part where I've got everything in my human reality is collapsing and I'm trying to pick up the pieces, kind of like that movie, The Jerk, God, that old movie, it's the 1970s or something, I don't remember, but he's trying to pick up one little thing at a time and go, I'm just going to take this with me and maybe take this with me. And eventually you're just like, fuck it. I'm going to leave it all. I can't take anything with me because this is all old. It's all karmic and I can't fix it. And sometimes in the beginning we can't fix it. And we almost put a pin in it and say, okay, universe, I know I'll come back to that. Whether I come back to the exact same situation or something energetically similar, I know at some point I'm going to have to face this. I'm going to have to align this from kindness, from compassion, from love, and from power. So connect first. And if it's not your go-to, start making it your go-to. And you might be surprised, what you get. Keep practicing the art of intuition.